it won't last. You look at it and it's been on the market 180
They're
days.
very optimistic, It's funny on the description. It's like you read it, they're doing you a favor by even taking the time to write a description.
So question, Ashton, you mentioned, are you able to search on MLS for keywords in the description?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I didn't
on
know
the
that.
on the MLS you can go. There you go, man. Holy cow, I brought some value to your real estate business today, and it didn't even know it was going to happen.
You are now listening to the Real Estate Heavyweights Podcast.
You see this guy here staring back at you? That's your toughest opponent. Every time you get into the ring, that's who you're going against. I believe that in boxing, and I do believe that in life.
Your weekly deep dive into DFW real estate, life, and beyond. With your hosts, Tavis Westbrook and Ashton Hines.
Well, good morning and welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Heavyweights Podcast. I'm Ashton Hines, half of the Real Estate Heavyweights. I'm sort of the newbie-ish guy of the group. I've been at this for a little over 3 years. I've had my real estate license. I just completed my 4th flip. I have 1 long-term rental over in Sweetwater, Texas. And I'm just learning this game. I'm trying to put my jump in with both feet, trying to figure out as I'm running. And one of the guys that has helped me out a ton, and who also happens to be the guy I bought the long-term rental from and bought my last flip from, is one Tavis Westbrook. What's going on, Tavis?
What's up? Good morning. We're having a good week, man. It's a good start to the new year for sure.
Yes, good week. It's super cold. And
it is cold.
By the terms of Dallas, that means around 12 degrees. And there is a lot of freezing of pipes going on. My neighbor was frantically trying to keep their pool from freezing over the other day. And I looked over at my other neighbor thinking, oh, maybe, because I knew they were out of town. I'm like, maybe I need to help them out. It looked like a oasis over there. I mean, they had some sort of system going where their pool was A-OK. So it's interesting how different, pool companies do their thing and how different plumbers plumb walls and stuff. And some people are having frozen pipes and issues with that. So I hope none of your rentals have had any issues with the plumbing. Have you run by all of them? Make sure water's not spurting out of the garage anywhere?
Yeah, everyone seems to be good. I've talked to all the tenants and everybody. The midterm rental that's just down the street from me here is vacant. And so I actually went over there the day before yesterday and double check it. And mind you, everything was new, all new plumbing, all new, PEX was ran through the house and it's all insulated. But the kitchen sink line was frozen. I couldn't get any water out of it. So
oh, really?
It's on an outside wall. Yeah. So I just opened it up a little bit so it can breathe once it thaws out.
Yeah.
And then the master shower is on an outside wall as well. And I was able to at least just, set it up where it could drip a little bit. So other than that, all good.
Yeah. So Tavis and I were just talking. He still has a house on the market, unfortunately. He's gone through 2 contracts over at his Irving house, and it is becoming a little bit of a beast to sell. And he's experiencing this market firsthand right now, trying to sell a house that's just got out of probate. It's a family member's house, so he has an attachment to it, but it's got some issues. It's not your straightforward house. So we always, we definitely try to keep an eye on the market all the time, but especially when you got a listing out there, you want to know what's going on. So we were just talking about supply. The number of houses on the market is significantly down from last month. And it actually dropped about half of a month. We're about 2.5 months of supply. In some areas, 2 months of supply, which is extremely low. What did you tell me at one point, Tavis? A healthy market, a balanced market is about 6 months. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. Stable or, trying to think of the word now, and I think balanced is about right. I think that's, a balanced market. Otherwise, you're in a buyer's market or a seller's market. So
yeah, and so the fact that we're around 2 is not balanced. Yeah,
we're still in a seller's market, believe it or not. So lower inventory again. It goes back. Beating a dead horse talking about pricing. And we talked about the Irving one a little bit. Part of the issue with that was the numbers started getting low enough to where they were competing with the investor numbers, and obviously investment real estate is my specialty, so it makes a lot more sense to go the investment route once the numbers got down to a certain point, with the ability to waive all the contingencies and waive all the fees, right? So that was the big part of it, was just, talking to the estate. It was like, all right.
Yeah, I'm sure it's definitely frustrating. Part of it is just, kind of knowing where you are and trying to have those honest conversations. And, I've been doing a lot of conversations with investors lately. I'm trying to pick up some investor clients that I can help find houses and sort of act as their ongoing realtor, and having a lot of those conversations with people. And I'm looking on the MLS more from that investor eye and finding expireds and finding just odd listings, looking for terms like, so, as is, or something. They mention an investor in their description, or they might say something about a repair. So, there's different phrases you can look at to find those. And a lot of you look at these expireds and you start doing a little research, and the reason is expired is that they were really unreasonable about what they wanted for the house in the beginning. And it's always so funny because you'll see something that in the description, it's been on the market 170 days and it says motivated seller, and they've dropped it, $2,000 or something in a few months. I'm like, you're not that motivated, to be honest with you, if you're expired and you dropped it $2,000. So, I think a lot of that is just, I think some realtors are afraid to offend a seller, and they're going to scare them off, and they really need this sale. And so they just kind of want to take a listing. But it's just better off if everyone can just sit down as adults early on, do your research and say, look, this is what I think this is going to sell for. And if that sounds good to you, then I think this is a good fit. And if not, then maybe you need to move on, because if you're, swimming upstream trying to sell a house that's just, for whatever reason, priced wrong or positioned wrong, it's just going to be really hard on everybody. And it's funny how many you see those on the MLS.
Well, you have, there's a couple things to say about that. One is, you get the seller sometimes that isn't really that motivated to sell their house, right? They have a conversation in the beginning, and they're, it's the $1 million, answer. I don't have to sell. We don't have to sell. We don't, we're not in a rush to sell. If it takes a couple months, that's okay. But what they don't understand, the longer you sit on the market, the more stagnant you look, the more somebody looks at it and says, what's wrong with it? And so then your price reductions are much greater. That's one thing people just don't understand. They kind of take that approach. Like it's not a big deal. We can take our time. I want to get this price. But it goes back to just having those general conversations of why the seller wants to sell, and trying to really qualify that seller to make sure that it's a fit, for you as the agent and them as the seller, and just make sure that the synergy's there and that you can meet the needs of the seller. Because the things that happen is you kind of go down that path sometimes of hopa land and pricing it at a certain price to see what you get. And then when it's time to start doing price reductions, the seller doesn't want to cooperate, and that's where you're seeing these properties sit on the market as long as they have. You see those descriptions in there, this one sells quick, or better come now, or, it won't last. Mm-hmm. You look at it and it's been on the market 180 days.
They're very optimistic, It's funny on the description. It's like you read it, they're doing you a favor by even taking the time to write a description.
Yeah.
Get offers in, do it this way, only email this, don't call me after. And then it's there for 6 months. You're like, I kind of get it too, from a agent perspective. They've positioned them as, you better act fast or else. And then you see this and you're reading it on the back end. You're like, this just doesn't make sense. You could, like we've said it before, you can go in and edit those comments, and you probably should, because if you're coming out early and this is going to last, and here's how we want you to present an offer. And they're acting like there's going to be 19 offers and you got to really help them out to filter them out. And then it's there. Like, it just looks ridiculous. So, and it's just funny how you see, that on those MLS listings and, the other one, and we don't have to dwell on this, but the number of listings out there that still have ridiculously poor photos is astonishing. The average house around here is selling for $440,000. And here you have an agent who stands to make net $10,000, $11,000 on that sale. And they're literally walking around with their iPhone, poor angles. They're not doing any editing. It's just kind of crazy.
Oh,
but I think that will be the case until the end of time, because there's so many resources out there. It's so reasonable. It's ridiculous.
So I talked to an agent a couple of days ago. She called me and said, "Hey, I got your name from so-and-so. It was in an area a little bit outside of DFW. So, I wasn't, super interested because of the location, but I was like, I'll do you a solid. I'll look at it. I'll see what the deal is." Well, she was on market and it hadn't sold yet. And, she's like, hey, it needs a little TLC. It's not bad, but, they'd entertain an offer, yada, yada. Will you look at it and see if it's there? Right. She's calling me from, the fact that I'm an investor and I can write it and I can close, not really taking consideration where the numbers need to be, but she just in general, excited to get a deal sold. And after I talked to her and kind of looked at it, I was like, okay, maybe she's not been in the business that long. I never did look at her license number. But one of the biggest things is I pull it up and, it was a nice house, but it was like, it wasn't the front elevation as the primary photo. It was like the kitchen or something, and the angles just weren't very good. And I'm like looking at these photos, and I'm like, these are done with her iPhone. Like, these are not professional photos. And I look at the two properties that sold, and I'm like, these are professional photos. These houses have been updated, so not only did the house need a little bit of TLC, and, the carpet, you could see it had wrinkles in it. It definitely needed new carpet. It definitely needs some paint updates, things like that. It was built in like 2005. It looked like it could be a really nice home. The furniture didn't do it a lot of justice, the homeowner's furniture, and so my suggestion was to her, hey, work with the price a little bit. I don't think you're far off, but drop it by about $25,000. But it would make sense to get professional photos. I really think, and it is as candid as I could be to tell her to get photos done. And then I said, hey, look at these two listings that sold and compare your pictures, is how I kind of presented it. Like, compare the photos, yours are not professional photos. And, of course she's like, I'll talk to the seller, see what they want to do. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you what to do. Like, this is a major issue.
Just
this is
pay the money.
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, and this is, it was a, $600,000 house. I'm like, this is not acceptable. And I could even see her in the picture, one of the pictures in a bathroom, with her phone, taking a picture in the mirror. So question, Ashton, you mentioned, are you able to search on MLS for keywords in the description?
Oh yeah. Yeah. On the MLS, you can go, there you go, man. Holy cow. I brought some value to your real estate business today, and it didn't even know it was going to happen.
I mean, it makes sense that they would do that. I just never tried it. So explain that again. So you're in MLS, and when you're searching.
So in the property description, you can put anything in there. And what you want to do, though, so you don't accidentally misspell something, you put the little star, and then you put your word, and you put the other star. And that means if that word is anywhere in the description. So like you might say invest instead of, and that'll include investor, investors, anything like that. So if you just put invest, or you can do as is, or you can do, estate or probate. You can look up all those words and just run separate searches. And then somewhere in the description, it says probate, it says as is, and then you start filtering out like, okay, there's a reason why this is the case. And so you can kind of find those properties there and set up your own search. And there you go. I think I just made you a lot of money, because I think you're going to sit there on the MLS today and just find property after property that are just game changers. Good deal. Well, why don't we get into a little bit of news? So Tavis and I were just talking.
Can I please have your
attention? Still has a house
From
on the
Dallas,
market,
Texas,
unfortunately. He's got through 2 contracts over at his Irving house. And
this is a massive story. Who wouldn't publish it?
So,
man, I've got certain information. All right, certain things have come to light.
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
So the news is a little slow right now in the real estate industry. We did look up, there's the people from Zillow, they've done some of their 2024 predictions, and the behemoth Zillow, feel what you do about them. They do provide a lot of information. They are competition to realtors and that sort of thing. And I don't love their business model there, but they do provide a lot of good information and have statistics. And their economists are predicting a very flat 2024 as far as pricing goes. And so I think basically what they said was they expect a balanced increase in demand and increase in supply, with the rates dropping a little bit. And so, some people think that the demand will outpace supply if the rates drop fast enough. A lot of people are going to try to flood the market, coming out of the rental market, trying to find houses, but that remains to be seen. But Zillow themselves are predicting a flat 2024, which is interesting. It's not going to be a huge roller coaster swing one way or the other, it looks like. So the other news, as far as it goes with realtors, there's no huge movement on the NAR lawsuits that we've touched on a few times. That being said, the CEO, or the head of the National Association of Realtors, has resigned recently. We are actually near their offices in Chicago. I think they must be based there. There's a huge office there, beautiful office that says National Association of Realtors. And that building is minus one person because the CEO has decided to leave. All that to be said is the stability of the profession of, the realtor and what it looks like, the commission structure and our code of ethics and who's governing this and who's lobbying for realtors. It's definitely changing now and into 2024. At the end of this year, I'm confident that what a realtor means and looks like will be different than it looks like today. How significant that is, who knows? But there's just enough lawsuits, there's just enough change in the environment, and the CEO is resigning, and there's certain brokerages who are pulling away from the NAR and not requiring membership anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely, all the lawsuits have made us think, and it's going to change some things. We don't know yet what that looks like. We've talked about it before on previous podcasts on kind of projections and ideas of what may happen. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. I mean, in the meantime, I don't think anything's going to drastically shut anything down. It's just going to, everyone's going to adapt and shift a little bit and change, and, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And in the meantime, just working hard, trying to differentiate yourself as an agent, trying to work hard for your clients, I think is going to help those people that are professionals and are serious about the business rise to the top and ride out, any sort of changes,
Yep.
And if you just have a steady business of listings and buyers coming your way, you can figure out how to structure things. Starting from scratch and trying to figure it out might become a little bit more difficult. Who knows? But honestly, there's probably some room there to cull out some of those agents like we were talking about who just, might not take it as seriously as they need to. And they have people's largest investment, typically their largest investment of their life is this house, this $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 house that's theirs. And you're putting it in the hands of someone who may or may not care, enough to do research or, put a little bit of money into marketing. So it is interesting to and maybe it will filter some of those people out. Today, we are going to get into our real estate topic that we typically on Fridays, we try to take a little bit of a lighter look into part of the real estate industry. And so today we are looking at a report from Home Depot. Obviously has a vested interest in remodeling and that sort of thing. So they made a list of the top 10 things that you can do to increase your home's value in 2024. And the interesting thing about this is when I was reading it is that it really does apply to homeowners that are just thinking about sprucing up their house. Maybe they're taking out a home equity line of credit, want to put a little bit of money in. Sometimes it applies to realtors and they're giving advice to their clients. They're wanting to put something on the market. They're like, hey, should we paint this room? Should we change this carpet? And so some of these things could be some insight into maybe where money would be well spent. And then, of course, us on the flipping side, we don't always just go in and just rip all the sheetrock out and tear all the plumbing out and electrical and start from scratch. A lot of times, these are selective things where you're sort of snipering. Okay, we're going to take this out and change this, and we're going to try to sort of do the very minimal we can to make this house look as best as it can to sort of maximize profits. And so, what do you think about this, Tavis? Their number one thing that they say you can address is your bathroom. Why don't you talk about a couple of things? If someone was going to just put a little bit of money into a bathroom that they're going to sell or maybe flip, what are some of the main things that you address first?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the order of this list, right? And I don't know if, it's just the way that laid this out.
Yeah.
The 1 of 10, bathroom being number one on there, because then they have, kind of your necessity items, that need to be in good working order, like HVAC and water heaters and things like that, right? So normally it's going to work backwards from there. I think whether it's a flip or whether it's a buy and hold or a midterm, I think any property you buy, you're going to kind of focus on the things that need repair, right? First, if you got a bad AC, you're going to fix the AC. If you got a bad water heater, you're going to fix the water heater. You got a bad roof, you're going to fix the roof. So I think, you're always going to kind of work with the things that are in disrepair or, have had deferred maintenance to them first before you get into any of the cosmetic updates. But bathroom wise, and I'm doing a house now. I think the two major bathrooms. One, obviously, the master bath is important because I say master. People talk about it being the primary, but nevertheless, the owner's retreat, if you will, and the owner's bathroom is important because that's where the people that own the house are typically going to reside and spend a lot of their time. So that's important to make those nice, right, and make them updated. And then the other bathroom would be kind of your main guest bath or like a powder bathroom, for instance, and then your secondary bathrooms or, this house I'm doing right now is, technically has 4 bathrooms, 3 full baths and half bath. And my primary focus on that was master bathroom, and then the powder bathroom. And the other 2 bathrooms are just kind of cleaning them up and keeping them as is. Paint the cabinets a different color, and I'm keeping countertops, I'm keeping the tile, I'm keeping the plumbing fixtures, etc. Right? Master bath wise, I was actually able to keep the plumbing fixtures, the countertops, the cabinets, the actual tub, the shower pan itself, which was a fiberglass type of shower pan. But I ripped down all the builder grade tile, I'm putting up designer tile, I'm doing the floors. So I would say that the majority of the time it's going to be tile work, and then paint for sure. And then another thing you can do that's pretty easy is, in this case, we took down the big giant mirror and we're putting up 2 individual LED mirrors. So that'll dress it up. And I ended up doing the gold frame LED mirrors, which are pretty cool. Those weren't out a few years ago, and now manufacturers are getting more creative with that stuff. So I think it's going to look pretty cool, but we're saving money on keeping the cabinets. We're saving money on keeping the countertops. I'm saving money in plumbing labor because I kept the countertops and the sinks are integrated. Otherwise, you're looking at cost of sinks, cost of countertops, cost of new plumbing fixtures, and then the cost of the plumbing labor to hook up the new sinks and the drains and the faucets itself. So that's something you got to look at. Like, I was doing the math the other day talking about this particular project, and if you're changing the faucets on the on the sinks, then you would change them on the bathtub, which is a Roman tub faucet, and you would change them on the shower. And so by the time you look at all the plumbing fixtures and then labor, I mean, the number was like, and then countertops. So countertops, sinks, plumbing fixtures, labor, everything in it from the master bath, you're looking at like $3,500 minimum, right? To do all that. And it just wasn't necessary. So, and I say it's not necessary because I always do a good job of looking at my comps and looking at the high side of the comps and just studying them and going, what was done in that bathroom? What was done in that bathroom? Are they gutting these bathrooms and completely redoing them? Or are they able to work with what the builder gave them from a, early 2000s build? And so it's important just to study that. And when you're making these decisions, you've got to look at that.
Yeah. No, I agree on a lot of that. And I, thinking about our Mapleton flip that we just did, those are all new bathrooms. We redid everything, but we really had 3 levels of bathrooms. And in the master, we did frameless, glass and all new, really nice brushed gold fixtures, LED light. We really went all out. We had an extra touch of the quartz lip on the shower step in, and it was great. Yeah, floating natural cabinets. Then the second tier, our second bathroom was a full bath. We actually did a framed glass, which was half the price of the frameless, but it looked really great. It was black, it was really crisp. We did this contrasting nice blue subway. It wasn't super expensive subway, but it was nice. And we did the LED mirror in there. And then in the third bathroom, we really went pretty budget. We went super plain subway tile, your 29-cent subway tile at Floor & Decor. No LED mirror, kind of just standard black fixtures and everything like that. But it looked nice and crisp and clean. And really where we put color in there is we painted the vanity. And it looked really nice. And we considered doing some wallpaper in there. And I think that would be a good idea. Go pretty plain everywhere else and do like a wall of wallpaper that peel and stick that just adds a pop of color in a small area. And it's not going to be terribly expensive to do that. And before we move on to the next one, I would say if you have an existing bathroom, one of the things I think you could do to really save yourself some problems and make it nice and crisp is go ahead and replace the caulking. Scrape out that old, cracked, dingy looking caulking, run a new bead of nice white caulking. One, it's going to look really clean. And 2, it's gonna be one less thing that people just assume. If you have a little mold or something there, it looks cracked, they're gonna assume there's some plumbing issues or something's draining there. Like they're gonna start inspecting more. And so I would say clean all that up and sort of avoid some of those conversations during the inspection process. And the pictures are gonna look a lot better. And that is not terribly expensive. Steam cleaning the grout, stuff like that, you're gonna get away with not spending a ton in it. It would look a lot better. So.
Yeah, there's a couple different things you can do with the grout. You can clean it, right? They do have a steam cleaning thing, or you can have like your tile guys clean it with a chemical, or you could regrout it. That's a little bit more complicated, but it can be done. And then another thing that I've done in the past is actually paint the grout. So they sell a grout paint that is color selecting to matching grout. So you can actually select it specific to a grout color you want. And I've had my tile guys do it, and they go in and repaint the grout. So I've done this before, like in a rent house in a kitchen where the grout was just really, really stained and there was no cleaning it. And we just repainted all the grout, kept the tile, and it totally changed the look of the kitchen.
That's a great tip. So number 2, you mentioned HVAC and water treatment, some of the boring stuff. They actually have that number 7 is water treatment, 8 water heaters, 9 is HVAC. And so some of the core things, and I think maybe they're going a little bit more towards the, hey, you're staying in this house, where you want to spend your money. So I don't know their whole angle here, but
it's Home Depot.
Yeah, they want you to spend your money on the stuff they have available there. So, vinyl windows was number 5. Number 2 is interesting because we're actually going through this right now. So they say replace the carpeting, which is a good idea. I mean, carpeting in general is not terribly expensive to rip out and replace. That being said, is we have a 15-year-old dog that has forgotten how to go to the bathroom outside, and it started teaching our brand new puppy the efficiencies of not going outside to go to the bathroom. And so we had 2 rooms downstairs that are carpet. Everything else is either wood floor or tile. But these carpets quickly were becoming unlivable. So we ripped them out and went to the concrete while we're trying to figure it out. And we're trying to, we sent the puppy to training, and we're like, isolating the older dog. And so we're trying to get our house back. Well, we decided to go with wood floor to kind of match everything else. And so he's tying, our wood floor guy is tying everything in. It's looking really, really nice. And we're doing our large master, the downstairs guest, and then master closet and guest closet. It's about $5,000, and he's good pricing. It's red oak, and then he's going to stain it. So that's your price there. We could have replaced the carpet, I'm sure, for at least half that. And they have some really nice carpet that feels great. But, for us living, as far as allergies go, and and I think it is just sort of a livability, getting out of bed and putting your feet on a carpet, and especially when it's 12 degrees outside, it's actually kind of nice. The wood floor is a little cold. But I think from showing a house and people walking through open houses, hearing comments, wood floors, the new high-end vinyl, it just looks so much better. There's a perceived value there. And, most people are not going to be thinking through what it's going to feel like in 6 months when it's cold. They kind of like the idea of the wood floors. Plus, from a dust and allergy and keeping clean perspective, it's perceived to be a lot easier. However, when you have espressos colored super dark like we have, every little bitty piece of grass, every piece of dust shows up, and it will drive you insane. So we're going to go lighter this next time. And what's so funny, every time I say, we're going to go lighter stain because this one here just shows all the dirt. And it just sounds like I'm preparing myself to be a complete slob, because if you have lighter colored floors, you're like, finally, I can have crap all over it and no one will know about it. So it's sort of this weird logic, but I hate the dark floors because they just don't ever really look clean. So anyway, we are changing though. Do you typically, if you're, I'm sure a long-term rental, you just switch carpeting out. Is that right?
Yeah. So I, this is always one of those things that, talking to other investors and people, there's a lot of people that just, start fresh from the beginning and rip all the carpet out and go LVP, luxury vinyl plank throughout the entire property. And you could do that. And it probably is better investment in the long term of things, but most of my long-term tenants stay on average about 3 years. So I can imagine, I typically build it in and expect, hey, tenant's going to move out in 3 years. I'm probably going to have to change the carpet. Now, I typically, in all my rentals, have a hard surface floor throughout the main areas. So I don't have carpet in any of the main traffic areas. The carpet's typically only in the bedrooms, or maybe on the stairs, right? So a couple of mine that are 2 stories have carpet on the stairs, carpet in the bedrooms. So if I have to change the carpet, that's the only areas I'm changing it. And it's usually not too bad. It's somewhere between like $1,500 to $1,800, somewhere in that range for the quality of carpet. And that's pulling it out, putting new pad, new carpet, the whole 9 yards, and demoing the other one out. So it's usually not a horrible investment. The benefit of it is that, brand new carpet has a good smell to it. And so, and I'm a big fan of like having fresh, clean smells, in a new property. So, when you change out the carpet, it immediately changes the smell of the property. And so that's sometimes just an easy thing that you can do. And especially if you're like increasing rents and stuff like that.
Yeah. We found out last time that Tavis is also a fan of the cheap, full of chemical Sherwin-Williams paint that smells from 3 streets down. So for a fact when you walk in that house, this house has been recently repainted. Never mind all the California VOC free, I hugged a tree yesterday paint. No, we want to spend that money on the paint that people know what you've been doing. So, which totally makes sense. When you're trying to sell it to someone, you want to walk in that house and like, kind of feels like a newly renovated house. And I agree with that. I think there is definitely something to it. So let's just kind of lightly touch on a few more of these. the few, they say cabinet upgrades. Cabinet upgrades this is opening Pandora's box. If you're gonna upgrade cabinets, then this is not as simple as like, hey, let's, you're ripping out countertops, which most likely means you're doing a new sink, which probably means you're doing new faucets and probably need some plumbing. It might mean that you're redoing your backsplash, and you're also probably having to pick all new hardware. And
don't forget appliances.
Now, it looks great. Yeah, appliances that fit. It looks great, but it is a huge project. I will say this, that at Flip Over in Richardson, we ended up doing new cabinet fronts. So we had nice bases. They were wood that they could, screw new doors into, and it wasn't super cheap that it was going to fall apart. So we actually paid for new doors to be made. That way they were able to put the new soft close hinges. We were able to put new hardware on there, and we didn't have to restructure everything. And it actually worked out really, really well. So if you have decent cabinets as far as the base goes, and they're wood, they're nice wood, you can talk to a cabinet guy about replacing the door fronts and get an all new look for a lot less cost. So that's probably where I would go, as opposed to walking into Home Depot and ordering new cabinets. Now, on the next one is countertops. You can also, just redo countertops. This is definitely one of those things that I think floats on trends. It seems like every 3 to 5 years, there's a certain new countertop color or material that's super popular. Of course, granite for the longest time was, popular. Brown granite, killed it in the early 2000s. And, then, quartz and different varieties of quartz. And of course, there's marble. So doing new countertops can go a long way to, updating a space. That being said, some of the countertops that are in the pictures and on Instagram, like your waterfall countertops, some of these large 3-inch looking countertops that they're called laminated, where they're sort of gluing them to the side, but it makes it look 3 or 4 inches thick. You have to have cabinets specifically built for that. And so before you go get your heart set on a lot of those trends, you're probably, if you're just replacing what you have, you're going to have a very similar look, as far as I understand. Tavis, is that typically what you think?
Yeah. Back in the day, laminate countertops, which were, Formica finish, were pretty popular. And that's pretty much gone the wayside. I mean, you can still find that stuff. But for the most part, hard surface, granite, quartz, has gotten, pretty affordable. So, it's really just a matter of the lead time sometimes, because it takes sometimes like a week and a half, 2 weeks for fabrication, to get that stuff done. Another thing that you can do, which I've done this before, and I don't really necessarily recommend it in flips, especially like in a kitchen, but there's several different companies out there that will spray countertops with what they call a Pauline spray, and it's a chemical based product that will adhere to cultured marble. It'll adhere to old laminate, or Formica, and you see this a lot in apartments. So in multifamily, you see a lot of countertops that have been sprayed and might have a texture to them, or they might just be a solid color. But this is really popular, kind of in the multifamily space, of turning a unit over and making it look better. In fact, I've kind of considered it with this flip I'm doing now, depending on how things look when it's all said and done. The culture marble in the master bath is a little yellowed. So I'm going to see what it looks like once we get it all cleaned up, but I may end up having this company coming out and spray everything with a white enamel and just clean and crisp and clean it up. So I've done that in rentals before.
Yeah, I actually walked a flip one time that they had done that, and it looked really nice.
It used to be more affordable. It's gotten pricey now. Like for instance, I've done this on several bathtubs over the years, and especially if you have like a chip in the bathtub, or the bathtub is stained or just old, or it might even be in an old house where it's a pink bathtub or a blue bathtub, and you want to change the color. You can paint it, you can coat it, and it does wear really well. Nevertheless, it's they've gotten pricey. It used to be somewhere around like $300 to $350 a tub, and Now, depending on the amount of prep work and stuff they do, sometimes that number can get closer to $700. So it can be pricey. You just have to.
I think I paid $250 over at Richardson not too long ago. So I got a good deal on that. So who knows how it's holding up? Fingers crossed. So last one is garage doors. Getting a decent garage door opener and, having a guy come over and adjust the garage door and making it right. Most of the garage doors, a lot of them are alley facing, trying to, I don't know that I would go all out on a brand new garage door and all that. Now, that being said, I did end up having some fighting the one over at Mapleton. And I think part of it is maybe one of my guys like manhandled it while it was locked or something. But, it kind of bent one of the.
You had hell with that garage door.
Yeah. Well, I think the track,
Actually, the last two flips you had, I think you had hell with a garage door.
And I'm wondering, now that I think about it, I had the same garage door repair guy, and I'm never there while he's there. He might just be completely mangling those things, so I have to call him back in 3 weeks. I'm like, man, I need you back over here. No, but if you have, a good garage door opener, and that you make sure the tracks are decent, they can replace those rollers. They can replace a lot of the small parts on garage doors, to where you shouldn't have to necessarily replace the whole door. That being said, if they're pretty, a lot of them are aluminum or really thin metal, to where if someone bumps into it, it's going to kind of crinkle like a soda can, and it's really hard to replace that. Make it look nice. So, but you could also paint them. You can get away with painting them and making it, match the trim and that sort of thing. We have a cedar garage door that's extremely heavy, and you can sand those down, restain them. So you can do a lot of rehab work to garages where you may not have to necessarily replace the whole thing. But I'm sure there's times when it's just time to replace the garage. Maybe next time I have a flip, so the first day I have my next flip, I'm going to get in the crawl space, go to the attic, and go try the garage door out, so I don't have to fight these stupid issues for 6 months, because up until now, those have been the pain in my side for all of my last flips.
Well, I'll tell you this, that the garage door situation, you need to fix it if it's broke, but the rule of thumb is don't fix it or do anything to it till the end. Especially if you're storing trash in the garage like I do, things are going to happen. And so as long as the garage is opening and closing is my main concern throughout the project. Now at the end, I'll get the garage guy in there. We'll tune it up. We'll do what we need to do. We might change the opener, but that's one of the last things I mess with, unless it comes off the track or, there's a bigger issue. But it's just you're exposing yourself to potential damage throughout the project. So it's just kind of, when you use the garages to store the trash, it's going to happen.
Well, good deal. We'll bring more to these. This is the Home Depot list of 10 things you can do to make your home a little bit more valuable in 2024. So that wraps it up for today. I am Ashton Hines. I can be found on Instagram at the Dallas Real Estate Guy. Tavis Westbrook is Tavis Westbrook Designs. It's Travis without the R on Instagram. He's on Facebook. He does a lot of Facebook Lives, doing walkarounds. You can most recently see him doing a walk around of his midterm rental that's come available over in Plano. So if you're listening to this anytime soon in this week, and you know someone that needs a midterm rental, he's got one available. He's about to have another one come available, and it's cold. Plumbing is cracking. People need a place to stay for a few months while insurance helps them out. That would be perfect for you. So until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. Please share this with a friend. Copy the link. Text it to them. Say, check these guys out. Totally worth your time. And we would really, really appreciate that. Like it and subscribe it. Find us on Instagram and make a comment. We would really, really appreciate it. But until next time, thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Have a great day.